You know when you've been recording for like 20 minutes and you now realize that it wasn't recording the whole time? That's where we're at. So, what I was saying was I've got my 54 palettes here and it is covering my desk. And there really is a variety. And from each brand, they're scattered throughout the list. I can have something that's number 2 and number 52 from the same brand because it really just comes down to color story and personal preference for the most part, because I buy my own palettes. So I'm not going to buy something I don't really like. So it's just a fair warning. And even number 54 is still a beautiful palette, 53, 52, whatever. It's just, for me, they don't work as well. They might work really well for somebody else. So let's begin with number 54 again. And this is a brand I absolutely love. Some of the others in the series are scattered higher up, but this one I knew from the minute I tried it on, this would be number 54 on the list this year. And it's because it's not made for my skin tone. And I get that. I'm just a completist and I want every quad that this company comes out with. But this, I'm not even sure that this quad would show up on like Powder, Albino from the 90s. It is so light. And it is the Peony quad from Prada. As you can see, I really love Prada quads. The quality in here is really beautiful, but who is calling me? But it's so difficult to get this to show up. Like, let me show you on the back of my hand. Incredibly challenging to get it to show up. Again, if you have a lighter skin tone than me, it might really work for you. And the others that Prada put out this year worked for me much better. But this one just didn't work for my coloration. At number 53 is a brand that I have scattered all throughout because they put out about 8 or 10 palettes this year. But this one is repetitive, and it's the Golden Lust palette from YSL. Now the packaging on here is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but YSL does these golden colored palettes every holiday season. And although this one has a beautiful topper that has some pink and purple kind of sparkles in it, the other 3 colors that are in here are already sort of existing in the YSL line or something very close. And this particular one here doesn't give a ton of depth. So for me, there were just other YSL offerings this year that I liked more, but I can understand that this would be a beautiful gift. I think that's the reason why they do these at the holidays, is so that you can gift them and they're going to work on a wide variety of skin tones. And so I think that that's why these are so popular. I know this is included in like their advent calendar and some sets. It'd be a great gift. It's just, for me, less dramatic and less impactful than some of the other YSL quads. And we certainly had plenty of them this year. Now, number 52 is a palette that hurts me because I really like the makeup designer behind this. And I really like a lot that the brand puts out. They put out fantastic holiday palettes later on, but their normal everyday sort of all throughout the rest of the year palettes are a different formula. And this one, as talented as the makeup artist is and as friendly as the color story would be to a lot of skin tones, it just doesn't work for me. And it's the Cafe Crush palette from Lancome. It's a really pretty color story. But I don't know why the Lisa Eldridge palettes that come out at the holidays have all different textures and formulas and suspended glitters. They're really beautiful. And then for the rest of the year, Lancome comes out with these that are very powdery. Even though this is a beautiful color story, and I think it will work on a lot of people, it's very powdery and very fallouty. I had so much fallout with this. I know some other people have said that they had that too, but I also know a lot of people who really loved this. And I know that it's in that big Lancome gift set that comes out. So I think it'd be a great gift because it would work with a lot of skin tones. You just want to make sure to dust off your brush. Beautiful makeup artist, fun packaging, just didn't work for me. Okay, let's see. Number 51. This one pains me because normally this brand's larger palettes are always high up on my list, like top 15 or something. This year, this brand has struggled when it's come to eyeshadows. It's done really well with some other products like base, but it has struggled with eyeshadows for me. And so that is number 51, the Natasha Denona Soft Sculpt Texture and Tone Palette. Do we need this, is the question. If you don't have any Natasha Denona, would this be a good palette? Sure. But if you have Natasha Denona, you have these colors over and over and over again. And there's only 3 metallics in here. And I struggled with these 3 metallics to even get them to stick. They were a little challenging to get to stick because they've been reformulated. I think it would be great for like a makeup artist. But for somebody who collects Natasha Denona, it's just so monochromatic. And that's really a way the brand's been going lately. And I miss the fun in Natasha Denona palettes. There are some beautiful colors in here. It's just for me, as somebody who has every MIDI that she's ever really put out, I have these colors over and over and over again. At number, what are we at? 50. This is gonna be hard. I have the Moondust 2025 quad from Urban Decay. Now they come out with a quad like this every holiday season, or they have the last few years. And this one really is great. The Space Cowboy Moondusty shades are always so popular. And this one's really beautiful. The reason it's holding back, and it's not its fault because it is what it's supposed to be, but I have to go to another palette to get a matte or something like that. And pinky purple color stories, there's just been so many of them that this holds this back. But do I think for somebody who doesn't have any of the Moondust shadows, this would be a great thing to get because you can use them individually as toppers? Yeah, I think this is really great. It's just for me, it's not as exciting. In the Asian markets, they got a blue one this year that looked really beautiful. But this one for me, it's a great topper palette, but that's all it is. Let's see. At number 49 is one that was a little surprising to me because, again, I have these scattered all throughout my list. I love them all. It really comes down again to color story. But it is the Victoria Beckham Navy Noir palette. Now, you might think that this is beautiful, and it is. But for me, there's not really an inner eye color, which is kind of hard. And I'm not a fan of this blue and how bold this silver is. I wish that it was a little bit more of a blue-based silver. There is some blue in here. But it's very sort of regular silver. There is a little bit of blue. But I struggle. I really like the first 2 colors. This color I struggle with. It's just so primary blue. Now that being said, the formula is fantastic in all of these, and I really like the Victoria Beckham quads. It's just when you start to rank them up against each other, you know, this one comes in lower. And I like blue eyeshadow. But the thing is that with this one, you can't get anything but a really smoky dark look. And that's really true of 4 or 5 of the Victoria Beckham palettes. I don't mind it with some of the color stories, but with blue, sometimes you want something lighter and more ethereal, and you just can't get that from this. But the quality is fantastic. Okay, what do we have next? We have, well, the sister to the one we looked at just a few minutes ago. Again, do I need this? Nope. And it is the Natasha Denona Texture and Tone Dramatic Palette. Now this one's better. I'll give it that, because this one has an entire row of beautiful shimmers. However, is this not Biba? Is this not the bronze palette? Over and over again. If it did not have this beautiful purple shade here, that really is the star of this palette. Everything else in here is either in Biba, or it's in bronze, or I need a gold, or I need a warm. I mean, it's just, again, I think it's made for like a makeup artist or somebody who doesn't have any Natasha Denona palettes. But for me, somebody who has, I think most all of them, at least of the midi size, you know, it's unnecessary. I will say though that this black based purple is really beautiful. But is that worth $80 or whatever the price is for that? No. And so that's why it ranks lower. But again, it's Natasha Denona. The formula is really good. And like I've said over and over, they're just going to stack up. I'm just surprised that with the Natasha Denona midis, normally they're so high up. I think back to Zendo. I think back to Xenon and Yucca. And they're going in this weird monochromatic, and they're pretty much brown. I mean, we had that purple palette last year, which was fine, but the palettes have either, we did have a peach one this year, but it was all peach. There wasn't a lot of depth. And then these are all browns, bronzes, and golds. Another brown palette. I hope next year we get something fun. Where's Retro Glam? I really loved that. So I'd like to see more in that direction. Okay, now we have a beautiful palette. Very nice, very fall. It's just disappointing because of their past palettes, and it's ABH's Embers. Now this is a gorgeous color story for October and November. Don't get me wrong. Very beautiful. If you take out these three shades though, it's a brown palette. The thing about it is, like last year with the Spice palette, it was a brown palette pretty much, but it had so many interesting textures and toppers and metallics in it. This one is all satins and mattes, so it's really hard to get something that has a lot of variety or has a lot of texture. I think this would be beautiful, but I think you have to reach into something else, like one of those glitter pucks like I was talking about, to get that kind of effect that you automatically got with Sugar and Spice last year. But they saved themselves because they came out with another palette towards the end of the year, and it's much higher up on the list. Okay, now we have the first palette from Adept. Adept is killing it. All of their palettes this year have been really, really beautiful. It just comes down to color story because they have mastered their mattes. They're so much better than they used to be. And it's really hard to beat their metallics and multi-chromes and duochromes. The first one I have today, and it's a beautiful palette, is EBE's from Adept. They came out with 4 palettes this year, and then they had a re-promote of Seahorse, which I already have. Repackage. This one is really beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's just the color stories when you start comparing them, and the Adept palettes this year are so good that you have to be kind of nitpicky, but I love this color. I love these two greens together. It reminds me a little bit of, was it the Heather Austin palette or whatever that came out early in the Adept years? The shimmers in here are really spectacular. And again, it's just coming down to color story because this it's just beautiful. They have really knocked it out of the park with their repackaging and their reformulations this year. And, you know, it just happens to end up a little bit lower on the list, but it's lovely, and its brothers and sisters will appear higher up. Next, we have the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt. Another brown palette. However, I love this one because much like there was a Pat McGrath one a few years ago that was all mattes, and I like that one too, but this one's even easier to travel with. This is so great to take, like traveling with your metallics, your one and dones, or like your liquids that you want to just create as a real simple look with. This is really fantastic. This is all I needed. To expand this into those other two seemed unnecessary, but this is a great travel palette. However, it's all mattes, so it's really not meant to be the only palette you use. It's meant to complement and shape the eye. but I do really like it, and the formula is really good. So that's why this one is where it's at, and that would be number 45. Number 44, our first palette from La Bouteille Louis Vuitton. I love all of the Louis Vuitton eyeshadows. I think they did a really great job. I know it's controversial and people were disappointed about the pricing. I get it. But like I've said many times on this channel, I purchased one of the palettes and then the refills, one of the lipstick and the refills. And so I kind of switched them in and out. But the formula is really nice. It's buildable. It's suspended glitters. It's really refined and elegant. It blends out beautifully. It's not like a Mothership. It's not like a Pat McGrath Labs shade. They're much more subtle and elegant, but I really like them. I have them scattered all throughout my list. It just comes down to color story. And for me, this one is a beautiful palette. However, for my coloration, it struggles to show up. And it is the Waking Dawn palette. Now, I really like this. I like all of the Louis Vuitton palettes. But when you're nitpicking, I really like some of these peachy colors. They're really beautiful, but on my skin tone, they tend to kind of fade back. And this brown does not pull as dark as it is in the pan. So this is one, if you really like peach eyeshadow palettes, I think you'd really like this. And if you're lighter than me, I think you would really, really like this. I mentioned Critical Beauty, and if you don't follow her, you should. But she has this palette, and it looks really beautiful on her. And I've got it to look really beautiful on me. But the other ones are just so much more impactful that that's what keeps this one down a little bit. Okay, what do we have? That was 44. Oh God, I need glasses. That was 44, so now we have 43, which is Burning Desire by YSL. YSL had some beautiful palettes this year. This one is beautiful as well. It's just the color story. I can't get a ton of depth out of this, but this is a really beautiful duochrome. Very reminiscent of like a Pat McGrath, that peach to pink to gold that's very popular with Pat McGrath. And there's a Louis Vuitton quad that has it in it too. It's just, for me, there were so many YSL quads this year that this one got pushed down a little bit further. But it's a beautiful quad nonetheless. And I'm really splitting hairs here because the next quad is also from YSL, and it's another limited edition one. These are meant to be given, I think, as gifts, and that's why they tend to be more monochromatic and they tend to have less pigment. But this is Blooming Lust. Now, this one came out in the spring, and I do like this one better. This was their Valentine's quad. I like this one better because the topper is really interesting. It's got some blue sparkles in it, but I can get a variety of depth with this one. Let me swatch this for you. There is a variety there. So that makes it play slightly higher than the other one. But again, the quality is beautiful. Just, you know, it can be a little bit more when you've got so many, they're going to fight each other. And that's what's happened with YSL. Okay, we've done that one. So now we're down to 41. We're down to number 41, which is the last palette we're going to look at right now. And it is Victoria Beckham again. This is a beautiful palette. I keep saying that. Not Fit for Print really loves this. If you follow her, she really loves this palette. For me, it's just color story, and it is the Bordeaux palette. Now, I really like it. It's really pretty, but it pulls very warm. And again, a little challenging to get anything but a smoky eye. This is the lightest color in the palette, so you do have to go to a different palette to get something for like the inner eye color. But it is really beautiful. It's just incredibly smoky, and it's not even the smokiest of hers. I really hope for next year she varies it and comes out with some that are a little bit lighter or more ethereal, because she can do it. We know she can do it from her pot shadows. She really leaned into smoky this year, and that's a beautiful palette, much like the blue one. It's just, for me, when you start stacking them up against each other, that one comes out lower. So that was 54 to 41. So we got through quite a few there. I wanted to do a look in each of these videos with one of the palettes that I discussed. And so the palette that I chose today is the Navy Noir palette from Victoria Beckham, and I'll put the footage in here. It's a beautiful palette. These are all mostly beautiful palettes. It's very deep and very dramatic, and it's hard to get anything lighter. And like I said, I did struggle with that one blue, although I did use it a little bit today, and it gives a little bit of variety. This is definitely a palette that you want to do probably before you do your base, because it's just so dark and it can get away from you very fast. But the quality is beautiful. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and we will come back soon with palettes 40 to 29. No, 40 to 21. Yeah, 20 palettes. So we're really getting into palettes that I just love and adore. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next part of this series. Bye, everyone. Well, we're back at it, counting down our top palettes of the year. In a previous video, we looked at palettes 55 to 40, and today we're going to look at palettes 40 to 21. So if you haven't already seen that video, I'd encourage you to go back and look at that one. I'd also encourage you to ignore the washing machine in the background. But I had some beautiful palettes, and as I explained in that first video, I buy all of my own makeup for the most part, so I don't really have any palettes in here that I absolutely hate. It really just comes down to color story, preference, formula, that sort of thing. And so some of the palettes that I had in that first video I absolutely love. It's just I don't use them as much, or don't like them as much, or don't love them as much as some of the others. And so if you'd like to see sort of the middle of the pack, then I'd encourage you to watch today, follow along, shop my links, share me with people that might enjoy this sort of content, and of course, follow along on Instagram and on YouTube, Unsolicited Eyeshadow. Now, like I said in the first video, some companies like YSL or Adept, Prada, Victoria Beckham, even Louis Vuitton put out multiple palettes this year, so they're kind of scattered throughout the video series, and it really just comes down to color preference. And so we're going to start today looking at palette number 40 of the 55 I tried. Let me go grab it. So my 40th favorite palette of the year is from YSL, a brand that put out, I don't know, about 8 or 10 of these quads this year, between the special editions and the ones that have been put into the permanent collection. And this is number 730, Sunrise Safari. Now this one came out towards the end of the summer, along with 3 others. And this one really was sort of the most neutral and kind of the most basic of the quads that came out for the summer. But yet I really love this one, and it has a beautiful color story. There's a reason why sometimes the most basics work, and this one works really well. In fact, I would argue it works better than some of the special edition colors they put out for the rest of the year. And I'll just show you, it has a beautiful kind of warm pinky kind of color story. Really pretty for the summer and fall. Very pretty, and it's got more pigment than some of the special edition quads that YSL put out, like the Golden Lust or the Blooming Lust or the Golden Desire or whatever they name them. This one really is quite beautiful, even if it is a little boring. Okay, so number 39. We have another entry from the woman who put out 6 of these little quads this year. Was it 6 or 7? I think it's 6. And it is Victoria Beckham, and it's her Olive quad. Now this one is really beautiful. It's got this lovely green color story. It's got a beautiful kind of muted gold, a dark green, an olive, which matches an eyeliner in the same name, and then this beautiful tan. The one thing that I don't necessarily like about this one, although I do love it, is that you kind of get a very dark smoky look right off the bat with it. It's a little more tricky to get something a little bit lighter, but I really do love it. And these Victoria Beckham quads are an outstanding quality, and I've got them scattered throughout the list from towards the bottom towards the very top. So this is a beautiful one at number 39, and it's the Olive quad from Victoria Beckham Beauty. Okay, so we're up to number 38, and this one saddens me a little bit because it's from one of my favorite brands, but as far as the midi palettes are concerned, this was my favorite of the midi palettes that this brand put out this year, and this is the Natasha Denona Bloom palette. This came out in the early part of the spring, and it really was, other than the 2 brown palettes that came out at the end of the year, the only sort of midi palettes we got this year. We did get a few of the little 5-panners, but as you can see, it's got a beautiful peachy color story, but for something called Bloom, it's actually kind of muted, and it's very brown, peachy, coral kind of heavy. There are some beautiful shades in here, including the shade Equinox, which is kind of a blue to pink duochrome, but I'll just grab some of the others here to show you. There are some beautiful colors in here, and of course they are excellent Natasha Denona formula. But again, it's that very peachy, corally kind of color story that we see over and over and over. And I'm really hoping as a goal for 2026 that we go back to having some fun palettes from Natasha Denona, because I like these tightly curated palettes like this, but we've had so many now that are pink or brown, gold, tans, warms, nudes. It'd be nice to bring some color back into the line, and so that's kind of a hope for me for for 2026 from Natasha Denona, a brand that I love and whose formula, even in this palette, is outstanding. So at number 37, we have one of the Chanel fall palettes this year. 4 of them came out this year, and I purchased 3 of them. They had the buttons theme, and this one is the one that I think was probably the most popular, and it's the Buttons Couture. It's a really beautiful color story. It's very neutral, although this kind of mauve-y color is quite pretty. The only thing about this quad, the formula is very nice and creamy. It's just there's not a ton that you can do with it. You're going to get a very brown, heavy look. Although it is really beautiful, and I do like that kind of mauve-y, taupey color on the top there. There's not really a light brightening color to put on the inner eye, and every time I try to create a look with this palette, it ends up looking kind of similar to other looks I've created with it. That being said, it's a beautiful neutral palette. I think it probably sold extremely well for Chanel, and I think it would work for a lot of people, and it's got that beautiful Chanel formula that was in all 3, or all 4, I guess. I didn't get the 4th one, the pink one, but all 4 of those quads that came out during the fall. Okay, so next we have one that really surprises me, because the last couple of years have had this brand high up, like number 4, number 5, and I've really loved the last 2 entries in this line. But for whatever reason, this year's Ethereal Eyes by Makeup by Mario, although a beautiful color story, is just much more subdued. than some of the others. I think back to the original Ethereal Eyes or the Ethereal Eyes Moonlight, and they had such beautiful, sparkly, finely milled toppers. And this one only really has kind of one that's kind of sparkly. Everything else is just very subtle, although it's a beautiful color story, and I'll swatch some for you. And the formula is quite nice. It's just very different than the other entries from the line. But it's a beautiful color story playing on nature, and I think that it's probably part of the theme of this palette was to be a little bit more natural, a little bit more user-friendly, and a little bit more understated. But I just really miss those beautiful toppers that were in the first two Ethereal Eyes and kept them so high up on my list for each of their respective years. This is a beautiful palette. I think a lot of people will love it. It'll look beautiful on a lot of skin tones. It's just a little underwhelming compared to some of the other entries by Makeup by Mario in the Ethereal Eyes line. So Prada Beauty this year came out with 3 new quads, and they were all sort of in the nude family. They were called the Halo quads, and they had 3 sort of nudes and then 1 kind of holographic shade in them. My number 55, if you've gone back and watched, palette was the lightest one because I just couldn't get it to show up on me. But the next palette in my list at number, what would this be, 35, is the Pansy Quad from Prada. Now this is in a refill container. We all know what the beautiful Prada packages look like. But I wasn't going to swap it out. This is a really beautiful palette, and it's got that gorgeous, creamy Prada, almost kind of like moussey formula, and it's got a really pretty kind of gold to green to pink holographic shade in it. It's just a really lovely quad. Again, I think it would look really beautiful. I think this is the medium one in their series, and it is a really beautiful color story. A little subdued, a little understated, especially compared to the original Prada quads. But it's a beautiful quad with a beautiful formula, and I think it would work on a lot of people. We're starting to see a little bit of a trend here in the middle, which is not the color stories that I don't like or find difficult, and not the color stories that really excite me, but the more kind of everyday color stories that I think will actually be really beautiful on a number of people and are so popular because you can wear them to work. It's just, for me, they tend to fall towards the middle because the quality is great, but the color stories don't excite me as much as some of the others. Okay, so now we are at number 34. Number 34 is the... Yes, the Victoria Beckham quad, another one of her 6 that she put out this year, and this is in Night Flash. Now, ironically, last year I had a lot of these like black and gray smoky quads on my list, but this year not as many companies put them out. This is, however, a really beautiful one. The only downside to it really is that every look you're going to get with it's going to be incredibly dramatic and evening. But they are beautiful colors, and the formula is really spectacular. This matches or is supposed to kind of go with her satin kajal liner in Night Flash. Could also go with the black one, but it's just a really beautiful quad. Again, it's middle of the pack because it's not the most exciting color story, but the formula is really gorgeous, and for a black and white kind of smoky eye, you can't go wrong with it this year. I just laugh because last year we had so many from YSL and Chanel and just some really beautiful ones, and this year it's a color story that hasn't been done as much. So if you're looking for something like that, a great New Year's Eve palette, then I would check out Night Flash from Victoria Beckham. So I've been raving about Adept Cosmetics. For the longest time they had some of those beautiful shimmers and multi-chromes and duochromes, but this year they really got their mattes on par, and they're really beautiful blendable mattes. And they also came out with a new packaging kind of what would you call it, standard. And they're using this in all of their packaging, and it has the little holes. It's very similar to a Natasha Denona midi palette size, and obviously with the little holes, it's very similar. The next palette on my list, and it would be number 33, is the EMO palette from Adept Cosmetics. Now, Adept Cosmetics, all of their palettes are absolutely gorgeous. So it really just comes down to a color story selection. And for this one, I just really like this color story. And that's why it's sort of in the middle. I, have been saying that we have had a lot of neutrals in the middle here, but we can't say that with Adept. This is a really beautiful and varied color story. Let me just pull a few colors here just to show you what's in here. It's really beautiful, and their mattes have really come a long way. But of course, what I'm going to show you is their beautiful multi-chromes and duochromes. This is just 4 shades, and look how beautiful and shifty they are. Adept came out with 4 of these palettes this year, and then some re-promotes or reissues. But they really have just hit it out of the park with all of them. I mean, look how beautiful that is. They're so shifty and so beautiful to use. And so that's why I have this palette up, and I really have Adept scattered throughout the list, because again, it's just based on color story, because the formula has been really exceptional this year, and they really are kind of the best of the indie eyeshadow brands. That palette made me think a little bit about Adept's Seahorse. That one did reissue this year, but I did not purchase it because on the Adept website it said if you had the original, then you shouldn't consider purchasing that one. There weren't that many changes. And then it also made me consider the 2 Isamaya palettes that came out this year in reissues. I already have the originals and ranked them in past years, so I didn't purchase them. But that palette made me think of it because the finishes are quite similar, and those are beautiful palettes. So I just want to give them a shout out because I know they were reissued and they were so sought after the first time that if you're considering buying them, I definitely would, especially if Sephora comes back with like a 20% off one purchase like they do during the holidays often. That's a really beautiful set of palettes. Okay, so number 32, I guess we're about halfway through the list, almost halfway through the list, and it is the latest entry from Victoria Beckham, and it is the Victoria Beckham Cocoa palette. Now this palette is quintessential fall. I did a Thanksgiving video with this palette. It's just a beautiful everyday color story, as many of the palettes in this section are. And you actually can achieve something a little bit lighter and more ethereal with it. I do wish, obviously, that it included a brightening, lighter color that you could use for the inner eye, kind of metallic. I normally like something like that, but this is really exceptional, and I think it's probably going to be one of her most popular, if not already her most popular of her quads. The formula is really beautiful. It's a beautiful color story, and it's going to work on a great number of people. And you can get something a little bit lighter and more ethereal from this than you can from some of her other quads, which are so dark and serious. Okay, so next up we have another palette from Adept Cosmetics. Like I said, they're scattered throughout because they had such exceptional palettes this year. And again, just based on color story, but this is the RN Hull palette, and it came out towards the end of the year this year, and it is a gorgeous fall winter color story, just really exceptional. I really like how grungy this one is, and that's why I have it higher up on the list than some of the other ones from Adept. I love the grungy tones that are in here. And here's some just to show you. It's much more beautiful for like fall and winter, just really exceptional. And again, they have those beautiful duochromes and multi-chromes, and the mattes have really come so far. I really love this palette. and I hope Adept just keeps knocking it out for next year. Some of the mattes in here are really standouts. I mean, I'm always going to show you the beautiful multi-chromes and duochromes, but here I'll just show you a couple of the mattes because they are really exceptional creamy mattes, and these are such beautiful kind of fall tones with so much pigment, but really smooth, creamy, and blendable. So I think Adept has really been killing it, and there might be some more Adept to come in this list. That's how good they've been doing this year. So I definitely would check this out, or any of the Adept palettes that have come out recently. It's really just based on your color preference because they are all exceptional, including this RN Whole palette. I hope I'm saying that right. So the next palette we have today, which would be, let's see, number 30, is the another palette from the Chanel Fall series of buttons that came out. Like I said, I purchased 3 of the 4. I did not get the pink one because it was just incredibly light, and it really reminded me of that Prada quad that I struggled with that I previously had on the list in the other video. But this one I really did love, and this is the Buttons Baroque quad from Prada Beauty. It has the yellow and purple and kind of rusty orange color. Really beautiful, beautiful formula. And let me pull these colors for you because it was quite different for Chanel. They really, as we know, embraced color towards the end of the year, and this is a beautiful color story with that really beautiful, let me try to build it up just a little bit more, that beautiful purple sparkly topper color. This is just a really lovely color story, and I thought of the Buttons Baroque series, or the Button series, that this particular entry, the Buttons Baroque, was really beautiful. And so if it's still available and you're interested in that color story, then I definitely would consider grabbing it. I think you would really like it. So for number 29, we have another entry from a series of quads that came out this year that were incredibly controversial, but I really love them. They're beautiful, refined formulas. It's just this color story doesn't excite me as much. And it is the Louis Vuitton quad, and this one is in Beige Memento. A beautiful color story. It's just very neutral, but it's lovely. The formula is outstanding from creative director Pat McGrath. And I think that this is probably one of their most popular ones because a lot of people can wear it. It's a beautiful everyday color story. And I think that you can actually, the reason I have this one higher than like the Victoria Beckham one is you can get a lighter, more ethereal look with this quad. And you can get a little bit more range with it. But both of those quads are quite similar. It's really just the Louis Vuitton formula is just a little more refined and easier to build up, where the Victoria Beckham just comes out of the gate like bam. And then of course there was that Chanel quad that was all browns too. All 3 of these are pretty similar. It's just a formula situation or a formula preference, and I really love the buildability and the refined nature of the sparkle that's in the Louis Vuitton by Pat McGrath quads. And so that's why at number 29 we have Beige Memento. God, look at that component. I still can't get over how gorgeous it is. So at number 28 was a quad that kind of surprised me because when those fall quads released from YSL, this was the one that I wasn't that excited about. And then when I actually got it on the eye, it was really beautiful. And it is the Majestic Riyadh quad from YSL. It's a little bit more red, obviously, Riyadh, leaning than some of the other YSL quads that they've come out in the past. And it really has a lot of depth in it that some of the YSL quads don't necessarily have. And it is in my favorite configuration of YSL, which is 1 sparkly topper, 2 mattes, and 1 metallic. And this is just a really beautiful red color story. And it has a ton of pigment, and you can actually get something incredibly dark and dramatic, or something lighter. It's just a really beautiful color story, and like I said, I wasn't that excited by it. You can see that kind of holographic pink topper there. I wasn't that excited about it when the pictures first came out. Some of the other ones in that series got more attention, but this one should not be discarded. It's just a really beautiful quad, and you can get such a beautiful look because this deep dark burgundy here is not a color that you find in every quad or every palette. It's just really beautiful, and I think you'd really like it. If you passed it over, it might be worth going back for when the sales are going on for throughout the holidays, because it's a beautiful quad. We are up to number 27, and it is the first of the Les 9 Ombres that came out as a shocker from Chanel around the holiday series, around the holiday time. And we did not know it was coming. It kind of hit us out of nowhere, and these beautiful 3 9-pan quads came out with this extremely pigmented formula for Chanel with a lot of interesting multi-chrome and glittery finishes. At number 27, I have Daring Muse, which is a really, really beautiful palette. The reason it's a little lower than some of the others from this series is just because the color story is just a little bit more primary. It's not as curated as the other two. But I actually think this is probably the most user-friendly and the one that you could get the most use out of if you wanted to get one of the 3. The colors in here are really beautiful, including the first color here, which is this beautiful gold to pink duochrome. But there are these stunning, I would consider this like a jewel box of a palette. You could get beautiful holiday looks from it. But if you were just looking for like a one and done, there's so many beautiful colors in here. And unlike a lot of Chanel palettes, this one has so much pigment and so much different formulations, and to include like multi-chromes and duochromes in a Chanel palette is just really unique. And I think that these 9-pan palettes, although expensive, were really beautiful as an addition to the Chanel line. I'm going to pull this one duochrome here because I think it's just so pretty. But it's this blue to pink multi-chrome. You just don't see that from Chanel very much. And so for that reason, I have this one pretty high up in my list. And I think if you purchased any of the 3 from Chanel of the 9 pans, you'd really like them. This one's probably, like I said, the most user-friendly and you could get the most use out of, but all 3 are exceptional. So we're up to number 26, and it's another quad from Louis Vuitton. Like I said, the formulas on these Louis Vuittons is so refined and exceptional that it really just does come down to color story. And so for number 26, I have the Louis Vuitton quad in Forces of Nature. Now this one's always sold out, or seems to be mostly sold out, and I think it's because of this beautiful color story. It's very similar to like the Victoria Beckham one, but this one I think is just more refined, and again, it's more buildable and not just pigment right off the bat. So you really can kind of control the amount of pigment you put on your eyes, but it's a beautiful color story. Let me just swatch it for you here. In this olive greeny brown that has been so popular this year. And it's got that beautiful gold there. These are just so refined and elegant, and I know there were a lot of criticism about them, but I just really like them. And I think, just pick the color story you like, buy the component once, and then buy the refills that you like that speak to you, because they have 8 different color stories, and this one really is beautiful if you're looking for that kind of olivey green color story. And this one actually is really great because all of these could make beautiful one and dones too. So that's number 26 on my list, Louis Vuitton Forces of Nature. So next up we have, where did it go? My favorite of the fall buttons collection from Chanel that came out, and it is the Buttons Stellaire number 229. It looks kind of boring, and I suppose it is, but it's just a beautiful neutral color story, and it has this lovely silver that has kind of a blue shift to it. It's just really beautiful. And every look that I've done with this has turned out really beautiful. And I think that of the buttons collection that came out, this was my favorite without a doubt. It wasn't really hard because it just has such a lovely color story. And look at that blue gray color that's on top, along with this kind of yellowy color. And then the nude is a perfect color for me because you can't see it because it's my skin tone color. So this is just a really exceptional one. And again, I think if you really like Chanel, you're not going to go wrong. This one, if it's still available, would make a great gift because I think it would go with so many different skin tones. But it's just a really beautiful, neutral, everyday color story with that really cool metallic in there. I think it makes it really special and unique. Well, 4 more in this series, my middle of the pack, if you will. I think what I'll do at the end of this is maybe put all 3 videos together to make one really long one for those of you who are glutton for punishment, or those of you who like to be a completist and watch everything together. But we're down to number 24, and this really was a huge seller that I didn't see coming. It also introduced us to a new format, or not a new format, but a new formula from Danessa Myricks, and it is the Danessa Myricks Freedom Mini Pastel Dream Palette. This came out in the spring as a complement to her Freedom palette that came out last year, and also complements the Freedom palette that came out later this year and will be later on in the list. But this was also the first time that she introduced her matte formula, and she waited to release her mattes until it was absolutely perfect, and you can tell because the mattes are so creamy and beautiful from Danessa. And as you can see here, it's just a really beautiful shifty color story, beautiful for the spring and summer. Look at that gorgeous kind of teal matte there. That's how bold and pigmented these are, but they're really beautiful to blend. And much like with all the Freedom palettes, they're so easy to just swap in and out and create your own custom palettes. But this one was a shocker to me because it sold out really quickly, and then Sephora had a lot of trouble keeping it in stock. So that tells me that mixed with what we saw from Chanel at the end of the year with their 9 pans, and then what we saw from Danessa with her big Freedom palette at the end of the year, colors coming back, even Pat McGrath's holiday palette. And so I really love that as someone who loves eyeshadow, because as lovely as all these neutral palettes are, something like this really sold well, and I think it's because there's a hunger out there to bring some of this color back. And so that's where this little dude ends up, a beautiful palette from Danessa Myricks. Number 23 was a big shocker because it was the last palette to come out this year, and there was no real press about it until it just popped up. Earlier this fall, ABH came out with their Embers palette, and it was really beautiful. It was earlier on in this list, but it was really just satins and metallics. It didn't have any beautiful like toppers or duochromes, and I thought that that was a real missed opportunity. My guess is these 2 palettes were supposed to come out together, and this one just wasn't ready. But at number 23 is the Haze palette from ABH. This is following along with their line that's included embers, sugar, and spice. But this is a gorgeous cool tone palette that also has a duochrome, a bright blue, kind of an icy topper that is in that formula that was in Sugar and Spice that I like so much. And just really exceptional formula from ABH. And this is what I wanted kind of Embers to be, but I can understand if they were to come out at the same time, then it wouldn't have been so obvious that Embers didn't have any of the special formulas in it, because this one does. I mean, look how beautiful these are. It's just really a beautiful, cool tone, dark, smoky palette. It kind of reminds me of a baby version of the Makeup by Mario Moonlight palette that came out last year. but I really like this one, and I think this duochrome down here is really gorgeous. And so I hope that ABH continues to come out with these and maybe doesn't make us wait as long next time, because ABH sometimes gets slept on, but this is a really beautiful palette, the Haze palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Well, 2 more to go in this series, or in this little segment of my favorite 55 palettes of the year, and it's another one of the 9 pans from Chanel. This one I think is probably the least popular, and maybe people think it's kind of ugly because it is, but I think it's a really unique 70s kind of grungy color story, and it is the new singular 9 pan from Chanel. Now this one deviates from the other 2 because this one has more mattes in it and less sort of metallics and duochromes. There's only 3 sort of metallic-y duochrome colors in here. The rest are mattes, but it's a really unique color story that could easily work for the spring or over here for the fall. Just really unique, and those grungy kind of 70s colors that you don't see a ton in palettes. And I think it's just really interesting and unique, and I can understand why some people might think it's kind of ugly, but I think I like any time a brand like this takes a risk, and I think this is a really cool color story, and you can get some really interesting looks with it. You just have to be careful and really place them and kind of color block with them. But it's really exceptional, and I really like this. And like I said earlier, I think these 9 pans were so great from Chanel to have such a highly pigmented, interesting formulas, interesting duochromes, multi-chromes, just something that I really loved, and I hope that they continue them moving forward. And the last palette in this portion, number 21, is another entry from Le Bouteille Louis Vuitton by Pat McGrath. And this one kind of scared me when I first saw it because dark reds can go wrong so fast and make you look sickly. But with all of the quads, it's clear that Pat McGrath and Louis Vuitton put in a lot of time and effort into thinking through each of these. And this is the Monogram Rouge quad. It's just really beautiful, and this red is just perfect. It's not sickly, it's got enough burgundy in it, it's got this beautiful rose gold too. You can just get some really interesting looks with this that are very dramatic, or you can just kind of stick with these and get something that's very neutral. But I really enjoy this, and that's why it's fairly high up on my list. I really loved all of these, and it's just, I really appreciate the amount of time and care that was put into creating these. So we've made it from what, 40, we made it through 20 palettes, and so the next video that I'll upload will be our final 20 palettes, my favorite 20 of the year. Like I said, all of these palettes are exceptional. It's just kind of down to preference and color story. Could you guess what was on my eyes today? If you guessed it was the Adept R in whole palette, then you would be right. So I'll cut in the little demo of me using it. I'm trying to use in each one of these palettes just to show you. And so this is a beautiful palette, and I've really enjoyed using it. Like I said, all of the Adept palettes this year have been winners, and there will be more coming up down the road. So I look forward to you enjoying these videos. I hope you've enjoyed them. You've looked back over the first one and now this one, and I hope you're waiting for the last one, which will look over my top 20. And then, like I said, I'll probably combine them all into one large video for the end of the year. But it's been a really good year for palettes this year, and I'm pleased to bring the list to you. So if you like this kind of content, then please like, subscribe, follow along, shop my links, and share me with others who might like this kind of content. And I'll be back soon with number 20 through number 1 palette of 2025. Bye everyone. Well, the moment has finally arrived as part of my favorite palettes of the year. In previous videos, we looked at palettes 55 to 40 and 40 to 20, and today we are up to the top 20. And I'm excited because all of these palettes, in fact, all 55 for the most part, are beautiful palettes because I buy them myself. I don't receive PR, so I don't tend to buy things that I wouldn't like. But these are kind of, the top, the creme de la creme. So I'm excited to share those with you today. As I said in a previous video, I'm not including like singles or reissues. There were some beautiful singles and reissues this year. The liquid shadows from Chantecaille and Lisa Eldridge and Armani, and gosh, the Danessa Myricks Color Fix sticks and reissues of the Isamaya palettes. Those are all beautiful, but I'm just looking at things that came out this year. So I would encourage you to look at the past videos, but now we're going to move on to the top 20. And like I've said before, I'll combine them all into one long video for those of you who are glutton for punishment during the holidays. But if you like this kind of content, then please consider liking, subscribing, following along, shopping my links, and sharing me with other people who might like this kind of content. Okay, so let's begin, shall we? I've got my wet wipes. I've got my makeup remover. Let's see. So we'll start at number 20. And number 20 is my favorite palette that came out this year from Natasha Denona. Now, normally Natasha Denona has some of my favorite palettes of the year. I'm going to pull you up just a little bit. There we go. But this year, her MIDI palettes were good, but they weren't anything that really, brought me a lot of joy, like Zendo or Xenon or anything like that, My Dream. They were very monochromatic. The one palette that she came out with this year that I really loved is number 20, and it's the Mini Gloom palette. I love this kind of gloomy, rainy fall vibe, very 90s. I'm very hopeful that she comes out with a palette, a midi-size palette of this next year, because I think it would do really, really well. They're just really unique colors that you don't see a lot. It's very cool toned, but it's got a touch of pink you see up there at the top, and then that beautiful kind of bottle green there. It's just a really beautiful palette, and so I'm hoping that we get a midi size palette of this that expands on this year and brings us some color, because that's what I love so much about Natasha Denona. Okay, so now we go on to number 19, which is not here. I'm gonna have to grab it. I'll be right back. Okay, so number 19 really surprised me because when this line came out, I thought this would be my least favorite. And because we've seen this kind of color story before, but this one really surprised me. It's really beautiful, and it is from Louis Vuitton, and it is the Dazzling Gaze quad. Dazzling Gaze. That sounds like it could go in a different direction, but it's just really beautiful. Have we seen pink in color stories before? Absolutely. But what I really like about this one is that it's just a little bit different. Everything's just slightly different. There's kind of a beautiful rose tone in it. It's got a really pretty duochrome pink, which is very popular in the Pat McGrath line. She has a lot of those like duochrome pink to golds. But in this formula, it's just really beautiful to have that. You can kind of see that duochromy one second from the bottom there. This was a really pleasant surprise for me because I was just like, oh, that's the pink one. I won't be that interested in that. Laundry's letting us know it's done, but it actually did really surprise me, and I really like this color story, and they did a beautiful job. It's doing the Yankee Doodle shit again. I really like this. So this is number 19, Dazzling Gaze. First entry from Lisa Eldridge. She did not come out with a ton of palettes this year, but the ones that she came out with were really beautiful, and they ended up in the top 20, which should tell you about the quality and the curation of the color story of Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows. And the first one that we have at number 18 is the Betty palette. This came out earlier this spring. And it's just a beautiful curation of metallics and duochromes and multichromes. It's kind of giving like mermaid vibes. And typically I like a palette that has mattes in it, but there are times where I can, admit that a palette doesn't necessarily need them. And in this case, this palette has this shade down here, which although metallic, blends out really smoothly and I'm going to try to do it on the back of my hand here. And when blended out, a lot of that shine, as you see towards the bottom, kind of goes away, and you're just left with this beautiful kind of silvery brown color. That's just a gorgeous color. But what makes this palette shine, of course, are these duochromes and beautiful metallics like these three. This one is really special. I'll just put these on the back of my hand here so you can see. But just really cool, a really nice entry from Lisa Eldridge. She tends to have sort of more curated color stories that are, all pink, all purple, all whatever per palette. But this one gives you a lot of variety. In fact, even this one is a very different color than what's included in the rest. Put it up there on the top. So you're getting something that's really unique and really interesting. And that's why I have Betty as number 18 on my list. Number 17 is another quad from Louis Vuitton Le Boutet by Pat McGrath. I love saying that because it's pompous and it kind of also just rolls off the tongue. So this is the Cosmic Dreams quad. I think this one's very popular because it's often sold out, but it is the purple quad. Just really unique. It's not an over-the-top purple like a lot of what was that Natasha Denona purple palette, Roxa, that came out last year, where it was just really bold purples. These are more mild and in that beautiful Louis Vuitton formula that's really lovely to build up. But as you see there, they're all kind of gray based and a little bit you obviously can build them up really nicely, but they're a little more subdued, and I really like the formula. And this is a beautiful quad from Louis Vuitton. I really like all the Louis Vuitton quads. And of course, I think you can get a lot of depth with this one, but you can also go really light if you just lay in heavy on this kind of slightly purpley white duochrome. So that's a palette that I really do like, and that's Cosmic Dreams from Louis Vuitton. So next on my list, and it looks like this would be number 16, is the last of the three Halo quads that came out from Prada Beauty this year. This is the Primula quad, and I'm showing it to you in the refill, but obviously I have some of those Prada, you know what the component looks like, but I just keep these in the refills. And this one is really the best one in my opinion. It's the darkest one, but it gives you a lot of depth. There's some variation in color, and it has this really beautiful sort of halo. They call it a halo shade. I would call it, I guess it's a duochrome, maybe a triochrome, but it has this beautiful shift in it from purple to vermilion. There's a little bit of green. I'm going to re-swatch that because it ran off the side of my hand. See, when you try to swatch too fast, that's when you get problems. Okay, so as you can see, that top color is just really cool. And then it has these three warm kind of Santa Fe colors on the bottom. I really like this. The only thing I do wish is that maybe one of the colors would have been lighter to use as an inner eye color, because I can't use any of these really. But it's a beautiful quad. I think it's meant more for darker skin tones, but I really love this color and I can make this work. I just have to reach into something else to get something light for the inner corner, but really beautiful from Prada. And I'm excited to see what they have coming forward, including concealer, which is coming in January. Okay. At number 15, I have the fourth of the 4 new palettes that released this year from Adept Cosmetics. Now, I mentioned that the Seahorse palette was reissued, but they said there were very few changes with that one, and I already had the original, so I didn't pick that up. But the one reissue that they did have this year was more of a reimagining, and it's because they changed a good number of the colors and the formulas. And so I did pick this up, and I can promise you this is probably Patty Alonso's favorite palette of the year. If we're doing bets, at least top 3. And it came out in January, and she called that in January. And that's because it's so beautiful. And it is the Minka Redux or Reimagined palette. So beautiful. This like wintry, purpley color story. I really loved the original Minka, but the mattes, were patchy at times. Adept has figured out their matte issue, and this is a really beautiful palette with beautiful mattes. The one thing I will say is the mattes are lovely, but what you come to see, of course, is the duo in multi-chromes, and look at that. I mean, that one in particular, that's called Joshua. These are really stunning. Here's 4 of them right here. Adept has been killing it this year, and their matte formula really is beautiful, and they really have taken it to the next level. And this, I think, is their star of the year. Just really beautiful, really stunning, very shifty. I could show you 5 more shades and they would all be just as shifty and just as beautiful. Really love this palette, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how Adept continues to grow and diversify. And again, this is the Minka Reimagined, and it's at number 15. So at number 14, I have the first palette release from Chanel of 2025. Now, they did come out with a palette that you could use on your eyes, but it was mostly a highlighter palette, one of those jumbo palettes. And I did like that, but it's mostly highlighters. You can't really get, an interesting eyeshadow look on its own from it. It's so light. The first true quad they came out with this year is stunning, and it is the Utopia quad. This was from the Camellia collection that came out in the spring. This is just really beautiful. It was really unique because it contained a multi-chrome from Chanel. Of course, it's tamer than other multi-chromes from other companies because it is Chanel. But at the time, we thought, well, this is really unique and interesting. What we didn't know is that we would be getting these kind of multi-chrome shades from Chanel, quite a few this year, and done really beautifully. This is a gorgeous quad. I love how cool toned this grayish brown is, and this duochrome shade here. It's just a really special, interesting quad, and I think it sold really well for Chanel. And so I've already seen, I'm sure you have too, what they have coming in the spring, and I'm interested to see, how things progress with them, because I think they've really been hitting it out of the park. You may not like everything they put out, but what they've been putting out has been really pigmented and beautiful and different. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to mold and change under that new makeup trio of creative directors. So that would be number 14, Utopia from Chanel Beauty. At number 13, we have another quad from Louis Vuitton Le Boutet by Pat McGrath. See, it just rolls off. And this is the quad Sky is the Limit, which I think is one of the most beautiful blue quads of the year. It's really wearable. There are 2 blue quads that came out this year, 2 or 3, that I think are just really beautiful and wearable and can be toned down, but they can also be very dramatic. And this is one of them. This is the Color Story, and it's really beautiful. Again, we've got another one of those cool tone gray browns that are so popular this year. We saw Lisa Eldridge had it, Chanel had it, now Louis Vuitton. And then these 3 really beautiful blues. And yes, that lightest one can be used sparingly on the inner eye, but it gives a beautiful scattered effect over these others. Just a really beautiful, wearable, but dramatic blue quad. Really loved this one. And so this is Sky is the Limit from Louis Vuitton, and it's at number 13. We're getting close to the top 10. Okay, so I said we're getting close to the top 10, and we really are, because we are at number 12, and it is one of the 4 fall quads or late summer quads that came out from YSL Beauty, and it is the Unexplored Garden quad. Just really beautiful, this kind of khaki color and these deep dark greens. Let me swatch this for you. It also has this really interesting topper shade, which kind of reminds me of a Pat McGrath. Remember in Bronze Seduction, there's a topper shade that's kind of green to gold, really interesting. I can't remember right now off the top of my head what it's called, but I will remember it the minute I'm done with this video. What is that called? Astral. Anyway, this has a shade that's kind of similar to that down here. And then it's got these beautiful, creamy, rich greens, including this really nice metallic green here. And this topper shade can be scattered over any of these. This is a really, really beautiful green quad. And it's a little bit, the other ones like from Victoria Beckham and Louis Vuitton were heavier and deeper. This one you can get a much lighter, more ethereal look with, but you can also get something that's really beautiful too and impactful. And so that's why I have Unexplored Garden, which this thing sold like wildfire, at number 12. VR Fire Opal. I knew it would come to me the minute I hit that button. Okay. And number 11 is another quad from YSL that came out as part of their late summer fall push. And this one is really beautiful. It looks boring, but it's anything but. And it is the Captivating Dunes quad. This YSL has so many brown and brown color story quads, but this I think is the best one. It is just really, really stunning and cool toned, which YSL doesn't have a ton of cool toned shades or quads, but this one is. And it's just really beautiful. It's a neutral, but there's not an ounce of warmth in this quad. And this bottom one here reminds me a lot of Astral Solstice from Pat McGrath, because if you scatter it over any of these, you get that beautiful scattered effect. But this is a really, really stunning quad. And I know that it also sold out really fast from that launch, and I'm sure it's back now. I know Sephora has it because I saw it the other day. But a really beautiful neutral quad that can be very dramatic, but it can also be really great for like work or something like that. So this is Captivating Dunes from YSL. So we are up to the top 10. This seems like it's been a journey, and it probably has. I don't think I've ever talked this much at once, but I will say that for the most part, any of these top 10, they're all stunning. They could be interchanged with each other depending on my mood or my day, but they're all really beautiful quads. And when we get up to the top 5 or so, any one of those could be number 1 depending on the day, because they really are based on color story and based on the different kind of person that would want the different, palettes. But these top 10 are really spectacular, and some of them will go into my all-time favorite palettes, regardless of what year they came out. And so number 10 is the other entry from Lisa Eldridge that came out this year, and this is the Desert Gleam palette. This is really stunning. She wanted to go for like a 70s desert disco theme, and I think she really achieved it with this palette. It's really unique. The color story. Well, first of all, one of the mattes is almost identical to my skin color, so that's really great. But then it's got these beautiful, like holographic kind of 70s shades, and then it's got a really lovely olive and brown in it as well. Now, I know a lot of people online wanted this to be more pigmented, but this is a much more buildable palette. So this is going to be a lighter. Of course, this is obviously a deep dark brown, but this is a much lighter and yet sparkly take on kind of that 70s disco aesthetic. And I think what she was saying was like, think of Disco Safari or those like 70s photo shoots that are in the Safari. And so this Desert Gleam palette, really, really stunning. I'm so excited to see what Lisa Eldridge has coming for next year. So where I said the last one you could get away with subtlety and kind of a more demure look, this one you cannot. It's so dramatic and so smoky and beautiful, but I really do feel like it's my favorite of this particular brand's quads they came out with this year. And they came out with a lot of them, 6 or 7, but it is Victoria Beckham, and it is her Victoria quad. Now, this is a beautiful color that can easily be blended out, but with these 3, you're going with drama all the way. And here is the color story. I mean, it's hard to not get something very smoky and dramatic with this. The one thing I'm going to say is that I wish it had an inner eye color, something kind of creamy and sparkly, but I don't care on this one because it's so beautiful that I can dip into a single from Victoria Beckham, one of her pot shadows. And in fact, this shadow reminds me a lot of her pot shadow in Mink, and that shadow is actually my favorite of her pot shadows. But this quad, very dramatic, very smoky. Every look you're going to get is going to be pretty dramatic, but that's what Victoria Beckham does. And this, I think, is her finest quad so far. And I'm excited to see where she comes moving forward next year with her quads, because the ones she came out with this year have all been pretty dramatic, pretty smoky. I wonder what it would look like if she did some that were kind of based on some of her lighter satin Kajal liners, because her palettes are all supposed to pair nicely with her satin Kajal liners. And so it'd be interesting to see what like a Seafoam or an Orchid or Jeans or one of those would look like. So that is number 9, Victoria Beckham Beauty, Victoria. Number 8 is from Chanel. And this one really surprised me. Earlier I mentioned that there were a couple of blue quads that came out this year that could be very wearable. And I mentioned the Louis Vuitton one, and I said there was one other one, and it is Nuit Astral from Chanel. This came out for the holiday season. It went very fast as well, but a beautiful, wearable, purpley blue periwinkle kind of color story. You can go very dramatic, you can go very light with it. It's just a really unique color story for Chanel, and their winter collection this year was all about kind of the stars and astral, and it's kind of spacey themed. And this is a winner, and I know it's hard to get, but it would make a great holiday gift. And so that is number, what number are we on? 8, Chanel Nuit Astral. Okay, from here on, any of these quads truly could be number 1 depending on the day. It just depends on the color story, the person, what you're looking for, but any of these 7 I think are really, really spectacular. At number 7 was a surprise to me because although I love this brand's holiday palettes, they're normally of not her highest quality. They're beautiful, don't get me wrong, but they're normally a little bit less refined than some of her others. This one changed that, and it is the Pat McGrath Gilded Nirvana palette. This is gorgeous. I don't want to hear any bitching about the price or the size of this. Is this half the size of what a normal Pat McGrath holiday palette is? Sure. But is the packaging this gorgeous acrylic instead of cardboard? Is every shadow in here performing beautifully and refined and super sparkly? Are there some duochromes in here? Yeah, and that's not common in the later versions of the Pat McGrath holiday collections. And so this is a stunner. And if you still have a gift to get, this is gonna work on a lot of people. And the reason I say that is because there are 2 mattes in here. There's this one and this one, which is not a true matte. It's got some little gold sparkles, but they pretty much go away when you blend it out. But then you can create so many unique, interesting looks with this palette. And the pans are small. I get it. I get that there's some, some people wish that they were larger. But at the end of the day, how many times do you actually pan an eyeshadow, especially one that's like a bold or bright color? In this case, these are really bold, unique colors, beautiful formula. But I think you're getting just about the right amount with these, because I don't think you're going to go off and pan them. But the packaging on it is so beautiful, and you can imagine even in its box, this with a bow would make a beautiful gift. You wouldn't even have to wrap because it's so beautiful and well done. Her Italian quint formula, but I think this is even more refined than her quints of past. This is her best holiday palette, at least in the last 3 or 4 years. The first two I really liked. This is definitely up there with those two. The back of that hand is raw, but we are at number 6. Again, interchangeable, they could be, but for me, this one really stood out. This is from that surprise drop that no one saw coming at Christmas, those 9 pans from Chanel. And it is the last of those 3 9 pans on my list, and it is Space Traveler by Chanel. This is so unique. I know somebody described it as if Pat McGrath did Chanel, and that's really true. Like, these feel like baked shades, but they're so pigmented. I mean, look at that for Chanel. It's still really shocking to me that this came out and that these 3 came out for the holidays. And I will say my swatches are getting to not look so great because my hands are looking very, very dry right now. But you can see there, look at the shifty shades there and the amount of pure pigment that's coming off. You can create something really dramatic, something lighter and ethereal, something workplace appropriate because you've got these beautiful mattes over here. You can go very dark because you've got a black and a smoky blue here. I just think this is so good. This could definitely be higher on the list. I just think this is a beautiful gift if it's still available. Yeah, these are expensive, but you can get a lot of beautiful looks out of this. And I love this duochrome shade here. It's the bottom one here, kind of a gold to chartreuse to orangey kind of color. This is just really unique, and I really recommend Space Traveler by Chanel. Okay, so I had this next palette at number 1, and then I had it number 2, and 5, and 4, and 3, and that's the way all of these palettes have been in the top 5, because they are spectacular, and I think any of these, like top 7, 8, could be in my top palettes, my favorites of all time. But this one is really beautiful. Also would make a beautiful gift because the packaging is so stunning. But this is the Adventures palette from Lancome. Lisa Eldridge comes out with one of these palettes every holiday season in collaboration with Lancome. And I struggle with Lancome palettes the rest of the year. They're patchy or there's a lot of fallout. These Lisa Eldridge Lancome palettes do not have that. They have their finest formula. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful on textured eyelids. And this one has 5 shades. This could be a blush, but it also makes a beautiful base for an eye look. It works well as an inner eye color, but this is such a beautiful quint, I guess you'd call it. And you can get such a really lovely look with it. I'm just gonna swatch some of these for you to see here. Really beautiful. Let me put those on my hand, if my hand will take more swatches, because it's probably done with me now. Really, really beautiful color story. I know this tends to lean a little bit warmer, but I think it's really beautiful. And every time I do a video or anything with this palette, somebody will say, oh my God, that's the Adventures palette, because it's been such, I think, a big seller for them and a great holiday item. But look at those like multi-chromes, just really, really stunning. And the blush, I'll swatch that for you too. Whew, I went a little deep there because my hands are so dry now. But look at that. I use it as an eyeshadow. I kind of use it very lightly and paint my crease with it. But sheared out, that's also beautiful as an eyeshadow or a blush. And actually this color here, the lightest color, can also be used as a highlighter and works really well. So this, I think, is really stunning. And like I said, at times it's been number 1, but it falls at number 5 in the list. And I really love it. Lancome, the Adventures palette. So number 4 on the list, again, could be higher, could be 5, just depends on the day. A lot of people bitch about, and I don't get it. I didn't expect it this year. I thought we may never get another one, and I'm so happy that we did. It's very unique and very different for the brand, but I really like it. And I know some people complain formulas are changing and that sort of thing, but at the end of the day, there is nothing, I don't care what brand it is, that beats opening up one of these palettes and using them. Best mattes, some of the best metallics, beautiful toppers. And so I say number 4 is Petalmorphosis from Pat McGrath. I know, like Patty Alonso and Critical Beauty and some others, I think, have said that they struggled to come up with looks with this. I did too, but I did do a 5 looks 1 palette with it, and I've done a couple of looks since then, and I will tell you that it's intimidating at first, but when you really start to play with it, what it does is it forces you to get out of your comfort zone. It has the quad of their kind of astral shades. These are not baked like the old ones or that kind of baked formula, but they are still stunning. And there's this bonus one over here, which I think is really the star of the show, this iridescent purpley color. You've got more kind of purple, less pink in this palette, less gold. It's more purple, and we have something new from Pat McGrath, which is a dark green matte. Normally this is a brown or a red. So I'm just going to swatch a few of these for you just to show you. There is still nothing, and I get that people are upset that the palettes have changed or the formulas have changed, but there is still nothing like a Pat McGrath mothership. From the experience, the packaging, the quality, it's just really beautiful, and I really like this. I'm going to swatch a few more because I think it's really unique. Let's see. It's just a really unique color story, and I got 5 really beautiful looks from it. You could wear this year round. I mean, look at the shine for all the complaining that people do. Do I miss the astral baked shades? Or I guess they're not baked, but people call them that. Yeah, I do. And I hope that they come back at some point. But these are so beautiful and refined and really elegant. I really like this. In fact, I'm going to grab this one too because I forgot about it and I really like it. Just a really beautiful palette, as all motherships are. Of course, you're going to have some that you like more than others. Is this going to be my favorite mothership? No. Is it in my top 5? Probably not. Is it in kind of the middle? Yeah. That it is, and that's saying a lot when you're talking about motherships, because I love my motherships more than anything else, palette wise, and so I'm so thankful we got this. And please, Mother Pat, if you're listening, give us another one. We're ready for 13. Petalmorphosis at number 4. Number 3 is my beautiful, what I would call boring ass quad of the year, the work quad, and it's what I have on my eyes today, and I really love it. I don't know that it necessarily translates that well on camera. It probably just looks like a pretty work look, but it's just really unique and really stunning, and I think it's the best one from this brand's launch this year. And so at number 3 for the work one, the work palette, I would definitely recommend Nude Mirage from Louis Vuitton La Bouteille. This palette is really beautiful. It doesn't look like it's that exciting. It's got this kind of cream, this kind of soft goldy champagne, this stunning kind of red color, and a deep dark brown. You can get something that's very light if you really stick to these two, or you can get something much more dramatic if you stick to these two. I went more for the drama, but it is just a really, really beautiful quad. I realize that it's maybe not as exciting as some of the others that I've showed you, but it's just really beautiful. It works on so many levels. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, and I think for the Louis Vuitton quads this year, I really loved them all. I think they're really unique and they're a really beautiful formula. I know that people have lots of thoughts on them, but I think this is the finest one and it's my favorite. And so this is at number 3, and this is Nude Mirage. Okay, so we are up to our top 2, and I'm wondering if you've watched throughout the year, can you guess what they are? I think one of them you'll definitely know, because I think every creator in the world is going to have it in their top 5. But the other one might be a little bit of a surprise, I don't know. But we're up to our top 2, and these are exceptional palettes. At number 2, I don't know why counting is so hard for me today. We have Lightwork 7 from Danessa Myricks. This is Danessa Myricks' finest palette she's ever done. Her mattes in here are so beautiful, and this is the first Lightworks that included mattes. I really love this. You get 3 distinct color stories, although you can kind of cross between them. It works with the Pastel Dream palette. You can pop it in. It works with the Lightwork 6 that came out last year. They all have the same formula. They stack really nicely. You can travel with them. But this one I think is by far her finest, and it's because she included mattes. And I realize that that's not necessarily as exciting for some people, but she waited until the matte formula was just perfect. And these are beautiful, perfect blendable mattes. There's 5 in here, and then a ton of her duochrome, multi-chrome shades. I'm just gonna pull a few here because obviously I have lots of content if you want to look on this palette, because it really is stunning. But look at that. These are just so beautiful. These like molten, I mean, just really stunning. This is also, I think, maybe her most wearable of her Lightworks because of those mattes, but also there's some more like subtle or lighter shades in here. And so I really love this. I know it's going to be a lot of people's top 1 or 2. That is a gorgeous shade. I forgot about that one. There's so many gorgeous shades in here. Could easily be number 1, but today it's falling at number 2. But I think it's just one of the finest palettes that she's ever put out, if not the finest. And so this is really, really good. And there's so much content with this palette online. So between me and other creators, you can look and see all sorts of different looks you can get, from very dramatic to very quiet. Just spectacular from Danessa Myricks. Love her. Okay, we're up to number 1. Have you figured out what number 1 is? I should have started this by saying, can you put it down in the comments? Damn. Anyway, every time I wear this in a video, somebody asks what it is. Anytime I wear it out, somebody asks what it is. It breaks a lot of my rules. I normally like a matte in a palette but this one, it's spectacular. And I have found myself, as you've probably noticed, with a few exceptions like the Chanel's, the Danessa, the Pat McGrath, gravitating to more like 6 pans and below. And I don't know why that is, but I've enjoyed these kind of more curated, smaller palettes. This palette is really spectacular, and I think it may surprise you. It surprised me. It knocked me over when I swatched this for the first time. It came out in Europe a little bit earlier than it did here. I remember Hand Beauty showing it off, and then when we finally got our hands on it, I was so pleasantly surprised. I know that it's mostly sold out now, but if you can still find it, it would make a beautiful holiday gift. But it is, can you guess? The Grand Miniature from Lancome. Again, as I said with the Adventures palette, I am not a huge fan of Lancome eyeshadows during the rest of the year, but these collaborations with Lisa Eldridge are spectacular. And this one has a feeling that it feels like they're all baked, but I know they're not. And it has a brown that can easily be worked out in the crease so that it's not so sparkly. And so that does help it with the fact that there's no matte in here. It also has those 2 lipsticks in it that I keep in my lipsticks. Do I wish that they would have just done this as a 5-pan? Sure. It's a beautiful cool tone complement to the other Lancome holiday palette that came out. But this is so beautiful. I'm going to swatch it for you. It does have that kind of highlightery. It's definitely a palette that could be used all over the face. But the shades are so beautiful. They do feel baked. They feel really special and interesting. They're so shiny. And the brown, as I said, is another one of those cool tone gray browns. But the shades in here, I think, are just top notch and create such an interesting, beautiful look. I mean, look at that blue and that top kind of very light mauve shade. This can be used as a blush. This can be used as a highlighter. This works really beautiful by itself as a one and done. You can use it to really play up the blue, or you can play up the pink. This one really, really surprised me. I love the Lisa Eldridge holiday collections that come out with Lancome. This one is taking it to another level. It's just really beautiful. It's made it to where I don't even miss having a matte in here. It's so beautiful. And like I said, every time I do something with this palette, somebody says, "What is that on your eyes?" And it's just really, really stunning. And I think it's probably the best blue shadow of the year, the best mauve, probably the best brown of those like silvery brown ones. And then that other shadow that can also be used as a blush. I cannot rave enough about this. If you can get your hands on it, get it. I think it's a really beautiful palette. And you can imagine that this could also, it says it's a wintry palette, and it is, but you can imagine with some creativity, you could use this. This could be a springy palette too. I really love it. I actually love all of the palettes this year in my top 10 or 12 even. They're all really special and unique. And I think it's been a really good year for eyeshadows. We got a new mothership. We got a great Pat McGrath holiday palette. We got surprises from Chanel with pigment and color. We got great Lisa Eldridge. Natasha Denona, we need to think about color moving forward. And I've seen what's coming for spring. And again, it's not in that direction. Danessa Myricks, Louis Vuitton, a new brand on the market, really gorgeous. Victoria Beckham. It's been a good year for eyeshadows, and so I hope you've enjoyed this content and that you will like, subscribe, follow along, shop my links, and share me with others who might like this kind of content. 2025 was a good eyeshadow year. It didn't necessarily seem like that, but they came in fast and furious in the second half of the year. And any of these top 10, 12 would make beautiful gifts, and they're beautiful, beautiful palettes. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Bye.